So I'm Ryan, and yeah, this is my story about what I like about gaming.
You never know when or where you'll meet other gamers out in the wild, and sometimes you'll find them in the most unlikely places. My guest today lives a lifestyle that redefines portable gaming. He built a van for full-time traveling and gaming on the road. He shares his van life builds and travel adventures on his YouTube channel, Outdoors Embrace. So the next time you're walking through a parking lot near a van, you might just be passing by one of the best gaming setups on wheels. Today, I bring you a My Top 5 first. My friend, Ryan, gives us an exclusive tour of his portable gaming setup and shares his top 5 favorite games.
So yeah, I actually live in a van. This is a 2016 Ford Transit, the high top, so I can stand in here. The front's not done yet, but as you can see over here, I have a pretty sweet little setup where I can game. I'm gonna turn it on for you, show you guys how I game in here, because I love this setup. This is like just my dream van, first of all, and my dream setup. Up here, I can turn on the mood lights all the way around, which is every gamer's dream already. So I game on this Steam Deck right here, and I have its little cubby hole, and it does get charged back here. There's like plugs and everything. Then there's also the Mac Mini up here. I game with that, and this is my internet everywhere I go. Pretty much this works everywhere I go. It's T-Mobile internet. It is gaming speeds. It's like great wherever I go, pretty much. Like even I go down to St. Pete a lot, and I can game right there on the beach in the middle of like the bridge, the Skyway Bridge right there. And so like I said, this is my Mac Mini. The Mac Mini is great because it only runs at a maximum of like 35 watts, which I'm on battery power. My batteries are up underneath here. All the down here is all my electronics and everything. So the Mac Mini 35, and then the Steam Deck runs at a max of like 45 watts. When I game in here, I don't just game just on the Steam Deck. I have it in a dock up here, which goes over to the TV. TV uses another like 35 watts, and I also game with the speakers and my big subwoofer down here, which I turn on by pressing this button, which turns on the audio unit like that. And then yeah, that turns on this. There's a big amp. This is an amp system, so it shakes the van when I game. So it's like I sit back, play like something like if I was to play like a shooter game or something, you would have the bed shaking every time you got shot. So it feels like you're actually in the game itself. And turn on the remote. There we go. And we were playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors last night with the 2 controllers I have in my van. So I do that for 2-player games. Right here, you can just like lay back in this chair. I have that metal bar there so I can put my feet up. And yeah, it's really relaxing in here. You can just sit back, play video games on the big speakers. Over here, you gotta set this not to Bluetooth, but to the auxiliary in. And now it's up playing over the speakers. So you can hear. It's really low right now, but yeah. Yeah, I got retro arcade. Look at this. Some of my games I have on here right now at the moment, at least. I got been playing some Cyberpunk, Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls. And we'll get into some of these, but yeah, Elden Ring, again, that's my favorite of the Souls series. Just like the open world, the Hitman, Plague Tale, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is something we're not going to speak about too much during the interview, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre and DBD, Dead by Daylight. Those are some awesome ones that I love playing. I actually helped get Wubs into Dead by Daylight, by the way. Not a lot of people know this. But yeah, I think I actually am the one who showed him the game, and then he just took off and got really, really good at that. And I'm still like not that great at it when I play, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm actually pretty good at. I've been trying to get more into Warhammer, a friend of mine, and I like puzzle games, so The Witness. These are the main ones I have downloaded right now, but over here I have all my really old games, the ROMs, and I download all these myself illegally. And yeah, I have all the Donkey Kongs, just really old, and Zelda, Mario, Mega Man, Tetris, and of course down at the bottom you got the Star Fox and the classic Squadron, Rogue Squadron, Bombermans, Super Smash Brothers, you know, just everything. And you can, these are 2-player games, so that's why I got the 2 controllers in the van, and you can literally play this anywhere you go. Like I said, I am running all of this on a battery. I have 7,200 watts of battery power, and that's all lithium iron phosphate, which in a house you don't have to think about this stuff, but in a van you very much so have to. And that's why I got such a low powered Steam Deck, which is the 45 watts at most. So if you think about 45 watts every single hour, so it's 45 minus 45 minus 45 off of 7,200, that's like how long I can play video games. And I don't have to worry about power too. I can go all the way up to 100%, all the way down to 0%, not hurt the battery. Everything's great in here. And I have solar, so during the day I'm also gaining power, so I can play indefinitely, never have to turn off this system ever. That's how much power is in here. I have 800 watts during the day coming in, potentially, if the sun is out, up top in my van. I'll show you that real quick. You can see the solar up there. But yeah, that's pretty much the van.
Thanks for the awesome tour, Ryan. So, what's your first favorite game?
My first one, I played back in the day with my dad. And I have very fond memories of playing it with him. It was on DOS, going back to the Windows DOS all the way back. I think this was 1993, the year that this one came out. It's called, well, it was originally called Rooms of Doom. What was it? Frogger made it, the software company, and they had class, there was a lawsuit against them, so they had to change the name. So the game is actually now today called Dangerous Dave and the Haunted Mansion. But back in the day, we had the actual box that said Rooms of Doom. So we have the legal copy.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Do you by chance still have the software?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it recently, actually. I think my sister has it at her house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, we got to get her to take a photo of it for the show. Because I'd love to see the actual box art.
I might actually have a photo already.
Oh, okay.
In my phone.
Even better.
Yeah. That would be sweet for you. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm not really familiar with that game though. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So your name is Jack, and you're trying to save your kid, and it's been so long. I forget that. I forget the kid's name. But you're trying to save your son, and he's in this really deep, dark dungeon or something, and you have a shotgun. And the mechanics of the game is cool because back in the day it was a keyboard game. There was only a few buttons to move around, and then you can shoot. If you left the controller alone, like press nothing, you would be reloading. Okay. So that was just the thing, and then you would have to stay still to reload. And if you're staying still, the zombies and everything can come get you. So there's zombies, there's witches, there's little slime things that crawl on the walls, and they go really, really fast and try to get in your face and slime you, kill you. And there are like, even back in the day, the DOS, there were animations of death back then, so it was very interesting.
Like different death animations
based
on what would kill you?
Yeah. I think there's one animation for each monster that kills you. Like the witch throws a knife in your eye, and the slime covers your face, and the ghosts, you would have to run past the ghost in the game, and then it would show up, and then it would come over and try to grab you, and that was the animation. It would grab you and you just die. And
it's pretty advanced for 93, right? I mean, to have so many different death animations for one game, that's pretty cool. As far as you said, you would have to stop to reload, like you couldn't move?
Yeah.
Okay, so that added to the general terror, right? Because all this stuff is around you and could find you at any time.
And back then, it was so much more terrifying. Back in, I don't even know what year we played. It might have been like 95, but it was more terrifying, not only because it was a horror game for back in the day, but it was also if you died, you have to go all the way back. Like the old games always did. You had
no
to go
save
back
points,
to the,
right?
There was no save points.
Yeah.
You had lives, but very few. And there was this one boss. It was on level 3 at the very end, which is already very hard to get up to. But it was called Frankenstein, and there was a platforms. You had to jump around over him, and he keeps going back and forth. So you have to keep jumping over him, and he's throwing snowball things, whatever, at you. That was the, like, my dad always still today makes fun of me for being afraid of that boss, Frankenstein, because I would always make him play that part to get around it for me.
Right.
But today, it's weird too. That game, to get up to that point, it felt like days back then. But today I play it, I get up to a Frankenstein immediately and beat him immediately. Like, it's just different today. Like, we're so much better at games, or it's just something's different.
I think we're used to them, maybe more so. We've had decades now of games that we've played, right? So it's, you know, when you're a kid playing these things for the first time, everything is harder and it's scarier. But you know, I don't even consider myself to be somebody really good with games, but if I had to pick up a Mario game right now, it's like I got a way better chance of figuring it out than I did when I was 5, you know, in the next hour or so.
Yeah. No, for sure. I've watched some videos online of that. There's if you haven't played any games your entire life, it's an entire language you have to learn, and those people didn't learn that language,
right?
So they don't know how to, like, they don't know what buttons to test out.
It's like people that haven't used a cell phone before, right? It's like a smartphone. If all they've ever had was like the old phones or like the rotary phones, it's the same kind of thing, right? It's a whole world you got to learn.
Yeah.
But for us, it's just second nature because we've been gaming since we were children. I don't even remember like the first time I picked up a controller, right? It's just something I've always like just had this connection
just
to.
Go to it.
Where it's just, you mess around with it, you play with it, you figure it out.
It's like to sprint. What's your, like, if it's a completely new game, you've never played it, you know what button to press. You know what buttons to test out. It's either you press down on the control stick, or you're gonna press one of the R buttons up top, the triggers.
Now, of course, back in the day when you're talking about this game, Dangerous Dave, things weren't standardized near to the point where they are now, right? So you'd play a new game, especially a PC game, that could involve all kinds of different controls.
Like
depending
Jay
on what it was.
That's actually a thing in Rooms of Doom, and going back like in all the DOS games, like J was jump,
right?
And R was sprint or something like something stupid like that.
I think Duke Nukem, the side-scroller Duke Nukem game, one of them I played when I was a kid, was the same thing. J was jump, and it was just weird, like how
it's so backwards
to do everything. Yeah,
it makes sense on paper, but it doesn't make sense to play it like that.
No, not on the keyboard. It was challenging, for sure. So that's a very interesting pick. I think you have the first DOS game pick of anyone on the show. So congratulations for that. And certainly there were a ton of fantastic DOS games, so I'm glad that we're getting some representation there. So, anything else you want to say about the game? I mean, obviously this sounds like it was horrifying, not just for the time in which it was made, but also the way that the game was set up. I mean, just the idea of having to be still to reload your weapon. This is before Resident Evil, people. You know, you could, and Resident Evil has its own kind of terror as far as the camera angles they used and how the weapons work and the controls or lack thereof, depending on your opinion. But for this game, it's like, it sounds like it's just as scary, if not more so, potentially, than Resident Evil.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that scary, but it's like the scary aspect, like I said, was just dying and having to start all over again.
Yeah, the terror that there's no save states.
Yeah, and there's 8 levels, and they get increasingly harder. And the last level, they have so many werewolves and stuff they're throwing at you. Those things kill you at one hit. All you have to do is get hit once.
Yep, and this is like last night we were playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors, which is also a challenging game from the Super Nintendo Genesis era that it progressively gets a lot harder, right? Yeah. But you do get the passwords. If you unlock certain levels, you can respawn to those levels, but still it's like it progressively gets harder and harder and scarier, I would say, because of that. But even this game though is definitely scarier, having no save states at all. You really have to be good at the game, I'm sure, to get through that all the way, right?
It's definitely some skill.
Yeah.
And I recently watched this video of someone beating this game in like 6 minutes. They did a speed run of it.
Oh wow.
Of Rooms of Doom, you know.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's just back in the day, it would take us literally days to beat this game. And we would even on the old Windows. What was it? It was before Windows 98. It was
95.
I don't even remember. It was probably 95 with the DOS on it. We would leave the computer running on paused, like the game was paused,
right,
for days, just because we had gotten up so far. And when we came back, there were multiple times where it was just frozen.
It was frozen. Yeah, that's what I would have thought would happen with that. And the other issue is back then the computers weren't nearly as efficient as they are now. So I mean, you were burning a lot of electricity just leaving it on, you know, for days. But that's how much we wanted to beat those games, because you would do that, you know, with different games that didn't have a save feature. So it was just, that was normal back then for sure.
Yeah, and on RetroArch, you know, the emulator that runs all this too with the DOS box.
Yeah.
Because that's how you run it today with DOS box, the emulator.
Right.
They all have save states and everything. You just load it right back up, and it should go back. Mine's not working right now, so Whoops is gonna have to just put regular.
Yeah. I'll find some
video.
footage for this for sure of the game. I really want to check it out based on your description myself. It definitely sounds like the kind of thing I would enjoy. You know,
it's definitely a good
the horror games and that whole aspect of not being able to save. Though I'm sure on a ROM you can just do a save state, right, with the game. So
yeah, the save state's all the way for that. But like I said, my save state's not working for some reason. I can't even load it.
Right. So it's still scary.
Yeah.
Sometimes your save states don't work.
The scary part of it now is the whole entire game doesn't work.
Right. So yeah, well, what an interesting pick again, DOS. Great to see the representation there. Anything else you'd like to add about the game before we move on to your next pick?
No, I think we can move on.
Okay.
That recounted a lot of memories, and I think that was a
cool.
I had forgot about the some of that stuff we just talked about.
Now this is one I assume you played with your sister quite a bit.
What? Rooms of Doom?
Mm-hmm. Or was she not into this kind of thing at the time?
I mean, she's 2 years younger than me, and back then she was quite young to be able to play with us.
Right.
She would watch sometimes, but I remember mostly this being with my dad.
And I remember, I think Ryan may have mentioned he was one of the guys that got me into Dead by Daylight years ago for the crew that knows me from that. And I started playing Dead by Daylight at his sister's house with his sister and her boyfriend at the time, now husband. And we had a great time playing Dead by Daylight, and I think we played some Friday the 13th there, too, as well, back before, you know, when the servers were still updated and everything.
She always gets so good at these games, like in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre now. She's like way better than me, and I mean, she has more hours than me.
Right.
Like, I mean, you got really good at DVD yourself.
Yeah, I would say I improved.
Yeah.
DBD is a game, it's one of those games you can play it forever and you're never going to master it totally. And that's one of the things I love about it, because it's always changing, it's always evolving. The mechanics are consistent for the most part, but every single round you play is different. So, yeah, and you have to adapt, and, you know, it's just how good you can adapt to that and survive. So, but this is kind of cool, because we're hearing about the origins of what got you into horror gaming.
Yeah.
Really, it sounds like.
That is kind of the origins,
Yeah.
You're right.
It was pretty cool.
Which I love horror games. That's
yeah,
like my
I know
favorite.
you do.
Yeah.
I know you do. You got
Favorite
me into
genre.
them. So, yeah.
I just, and there's one coming up, but first, you want to go on the next game?
Yeah, let's go to the next game. What's your next pick?
Definitely, I mean, I'm going chronologically, like in life, kind of.
Okay.
So the next one that I played a ton of, and I beat both of them, RollerCoaster Tycoon 1 and 2. I didn't really care about the third one, the 3D version, where you can look around in any direction. I didn't really care about that. But the side scroller, the 1 and 2, those were really fun. Like, especially the very first one. I still play that today. What is it? They have the spin-off not made by the same people, but there's a spin-off on my Mac right now. I can load that up. Can't remember the name of it. Parkitect.
Okay.
That one's exactly the same. It just adds like one other feature of those games. But aside from that, going back in the day, like I would just be laying on the computer, and I always sat the same exact way while playing this game. I would have my feet up higher than my head while I was playing, and I would just be on like the desk right there on a Windows 98. That's on that one with really crappy speakers, but it was just so much fun. I would sit there. That was during elementary school and probably part of middle school. Just be clicking away, making roller coasters and everything, and trying to get like big excitement ratings and nausea ratings and intensity ratings for the roller coasters, and then building parks. And I like that there were so many levels on that one. They were all different. In the campaign, they were all different. Like you had to meet certain criteria to beat each one within like a certain time frame. You know, like the Tycoon game.
Sure.
So they were just really fun, almost in a way time waster, but it was very addictive back then.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Being a strategy game, right? Like this couldn't be more different probably than Rooms of Doom, right? In terms of just gameplay. So it's interesting.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's just it's totally a different kind of game, right? It's a strategy game.
Oh, it's very different. Oh, that's what you're. Okay, yeah. It is very different. That's yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought you said same.
No, not the same.
No, very different. This one's just like you go at your own pace. Not very terror-inducing.
Right. Well, except for the people on the roller coasters.
Yes, and that's one thing people love. You can kill people.
Oh, really?
But it was never very graphical. You know?
But they could die if you mess up the coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in Parkitect, the new versions, you can kill people, and it's
you get more points if you kill people, or you get
No.
less points. Okay.
It's
not
fun
like
to do.
GTA then. Okay, it's like the opposite. Okay.
You can like build a sandbox world and just like build all these roller coasters that are just nuts. Like they're out of the world roller coasters that would never exist in real life. Make them go like 100, 200 miles per hour, you know. And I did that a lot. And at the very end, there would just be dead end tracks that they just go flying.
So, are you a big fan of roller coasters in real life then? Or
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Same thing.
And because of this game,
Okay.
in real life, when I would go to like Carowinds or wherever, Busch Gardens, I would always look at the roller coasters after that when I was younger, and be like, that roller coaster has an exciting rating of like 6. So I would build those exact coasters in the game.
Okay.
And that would be fun, just like looking at the numbers of what it was in the game. Even though they're not really based off anything besides someone's programming.
Sure.
But it seemed like it was good. The way he I forget Paul or what was it, Paul Sawyer or something, wherever the guy's name was that made it, the game. He came up with a good system of rating what you built, you know.
Sure.
And he put like environment, scenery around the roller coaster, and the excitement rating went up. And I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, it felt good.
This is very cool. It's another game I've never played, but I've heard about a lot in the past, but I've never actually played it. I used to play some strategy games like Command and Conquer and Age of Empires and things like that, but I've never played one of the. I've never played a strategy game that didn't involve war in some way. So I think it's really cool that that's your pick, is actually a strategy game that doesn't involve war, because most of them do.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I feel like most people have heard of RollerCoaster Tycoon. Not everyone's played it, but it's just like Command and Conquer. I had never played Command and Conquer.
Oh, really?
Like ever. And but I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah.
My whole life.
I mean, it was really popular in the 90s and the 2000s to a lesser extent, probably.
I played it recently, actually. I didn't really care for it. It's a cool game. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not RollerCoaster Tycoon.
No.
It's certainly different, I'm sure.
It's a good game, though.
But is that another? Well, anything else you'd like to add about it? Again, I don't really have much experience with that one myself, but
True.
you know, just if there's anything else you'd like to say.
Just the one coming out, like if the new Parkitect, which kind of emulates the the old RollerCoaster Tycoons. Like if you're gonna play it and try to experience it, that game's just fine to play. It does add on that extra mechanic where you have to worry about the views people have in the park. Like they can't see the staff room, or else they'll be like, "Ew, this is disgusting. This is stupid. Why am I here?" You know. But yeah, that game does the mechanics quite well, like the original, and that game is still updated today.
Really? They're
Yeah.
still making updates.
Still making updates, and they have these challenges where people make certain designs and they're shared online. You can actually use their designs.
That's fantastic. I love it when games have a community that strong, and you can keep playing them for so long. That's wonderful.
It's just that I really think there's nothing like the old campaign of the RollerCoaster Tycoon 1. There's just something special about it. The new game doesn't capture.
Sure.
So
Okay.
you might want to go back and play those too if you
play
want to
that.
play them.
Yeah, I'll check those out at some point for sure.
Yeah.
They sound pretty awesome. Is there, well, you said there's a new game coming out soon. Is that right?
I mean, there's always new games coming out like that, but nothing like RollerCoaster Tycoon, like where it was you move your cursor around. All the new ones are all 3D,
Okay.
and there's just something. It's not the same when it's 3D.
So do people? You said because they do updates for this a lot. Do people try to make Disney World and Universal Studios and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
In them?
Yeah.
Okay.
People make the real parks all the time. In RollerCoaster Tycoon 2, I think there was something called the Corkscrew Folly. I think that was the pack you had to download. You actually got real world parks built for you already, and you can go into them and manage them.
That's pretty cool.
There was like 6 or 7 of them that came with that pack.
Do they do things like Carowinds and Cedar Point and stuff like that too? Not just the Disney Universal stuff?
I don't think so. It was mostly I think a lot of them were Carowinds, and I was wrong about the it's not called Corkscrew Falls. That's the first one.
Okay.
I forget what the second one's called.
Okay.
But yeah, no, they mostly do like Carowinds, and there's a few others.
Okay.
Some of the roller coasters from Cedar Point, I believe, are even in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. They used to be some of the biggest in the world, right? We're at Cedar Point. I don't know if they still are, but
yeah, like they had that in Ohio, I believe.
Yeah, it's in Ohio.
They had that one roller coaster, which was one of the only ones that was wooden coaster that actually had a loop in it.
Yes, I think I remember that.
Yeah. I don't know if it still exists.
Right.
But,
yeah, it's been a while since I've been there, but yeah, cool. Very cool piece of software there. Cool idea for a game. Whoever thought let's have a roller coaster management simulator. It was pretty cool in the 90s, right? When did this game come out?
Oh, I don't even remember.
It must have been. I mean, it was the 90s. It's some late 90s probably, but
it was definitely 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Wow, what a great pick again.
In early 2000s, for a birthday present, they gave me RollerCoaster Tycoon 3.
Okay.
And it was cool. I was so excited to have it after having the first two, but it's just not the same.
Right.
It's just it's a very different game.
Well, it happens sometimes, especially, I mean, we talk about it on this show, how you can get really attached to a certain game in a series, more so than the others, just based on kind of the time in which you're exposed to it. And we certainly understand that here. So 1 and 2 are the ones to check out, it sounds like.
Yeah. If I got them as presents today, never knowing anything about it, I would I would play the hell out of them too.
Okay,
They're
cool.
amazing.
Yeah, the one I'm going to make is Wonder World from Cop 3. Beverly Hills Cop 3. I'm going to make Wonder World in Roller Coaster.
Okay.
Yeah. Put Eddie Murphy in the elephant suit or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so well, that's great, Ryan. What's your third pick?
So yeah, the next one, I used to call this one my favorite. The first two that I've already told you, I've never called my favorites.
Sure.
But they are just because of my childhood and just like the big milestones in my life in video gaming.
Sure.
But this one I always said was my favorite, Doom 3.
Yes.
Now there's another horror one, of course. This one definitely was very scary, and there was these times where I would just turn off all the lights in the house, and I would be too scared to play. And of course, this one has an expansion pack too. Well, the second game, the Resurrection of Evil. But and I feel both of them deserve just as much credit because they're both really good.
Okay.
So Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil, there was just something about them. Like, so if you go back in time with all the original Doom games, they're all very arcadish.
Yeah.
And this one was the first one that was, you know, it went away from that. It was more in a sense of they wanted fear, they wanted it to be scary, suspense. There were a lot of jump scares in this one, and it was one of the first games ever to have proper shadows. The lighting system in this game, they programmed in to be very more realistic than most of the games out at that time. Yeah. And that again made it way more scary too.
Right.
You know, back then all these games looked so much more realistic back then, and then today you look at them, it's like, what is this?
Well, we had it on your computer in here last night, and it was looking pretty. I was amazed how well it held up actually with, you know, the high def, on the Steam Deck and the high def monitor and all that. Like, it certainly would be scary if you cut all the lights out. Still, like, that hasn't changed.
Yeah. There's in Doom 3, I've played this game so much, I know every single jump scare.
Right.
When I was playing this game when I was younger, it actually I was going to college for computer programming, and we've talked about this because you were a computer programmer in a way.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
But because of Doom 3, it made me really want to program something that was the scariest game ever. I never went with it, but I had all these ideas. Like, actually here's another aside to this story. Going through all of what was it? Like, from middle school and up, I would create these video games on notebook paper, and they would be so elaborate with their own rules. And someday I had like a promise to myself that I would program them.
Okay.
And one of them was a scary game, just like Doom 3, and I was thinking about all the jump scares and everything that would happen.
Nice.
I still haven't done it, but I still want to do it.
You're still young. You got time.
Yeah, 35 by the way, if anyone was wondering.
That can still happen. So, the other thing is, with Doom 3, that's when I remember because I was in college at the same time when it came out, and my roommate got a copy of it, and he was playing it constantly for like weeks after that. And I just remember, like, because I would go back to the room and he'd be playing it, and I'd go to sleep and all the lights would be flashing and everything. I'd have to get under the covers so I could sleep, but you know, every now and then, like, his chair would just like jerk out of the way, like, you know, and you could tell like he was really freaked out, you know, make a lot of noise, or he'd, you know, like accidentally like hit his hand on the keyboard or whatever, like really loud.
Oh God, yeah.
Something like that, like just from jerking you could tell from the jump scares.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. But yeah, I never got to play it much at the time. I have played it since then though, and yeah, it's definitely got a lot of jump scares, and it's a very scary game for sure. So it's a lot of fun. And I played the other Dooms too. I played recently. I played 1 and 2 and Doom 64 when they were released on Game Pass a year or two ago. I played all of them, and I really like Doom 64 a lot as well. I don't know if you played that one.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
I've never really played 64, but I played 1 and 2 a good bit.
They're all good, but
I like the atmosphere of 3 though, and that's what I would say changed the most in 3 over everything else. Like, they were it was an atmospheric, dark horror game.
Yeah, it feels like a completely different game than those early Doom games, for sure.
Different. And I mean, the enemies were very similar, but they were just scary at this point.
Right.
In the first one, I guess there was some fear to it too. It was just like
the fear in the early ones. You know, it was kind of like you were talking about with Rooms of Doom. A big part of the fear was that whole thing of like ammo and where's the end of the level, and you know, are you gonna survive long enough to save or whatever, you know, kind of thing. And at least that's how I remember it when I was a kid. But you know, nowadays, of course, you can just use save states. That's not a big deal. But there's still the whole thing of, you know, where do you find the weapons that you need to kill the harder enemies? You know, ammo is kind of never guaranteed, particularly on the higher difficulties.
Yeah.
So that's what adds to the terror of those older games, I would say, for me. But it's nothing like Doom 3. and like you said, with the shadow work and that the programmers did and everything, it's impressive.
And I remember in Doom, when I think of Doom 3, there's always one level that comes to mind. I always think of this one. There's this light in one part. It's part of the machinery, and I know you have to activate a computer, and that when you do it, that light starts moving, and you have to stay with it. And during that part, there's all these enemies coming on the side of you, just jumping out at you, and it scares again. I always think of that one part. For some reason, I don't know, but that's what I think of.
I mean, it's pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
You have to stay in the light, and if you get in the darkness, you die, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So that's a cool idea for a horror game. Absolutely. Wow. Anything else you'd like to add about Doom 3?
I'm sure there's way more. I just can't think of anything at the moment. It's such a great game. I don't know. I haven't played it in quite some time, actually, because I have the PC version, and that doesn't really support the controller. So.
Oh, okay. Right.
And I've always played it on controller. I guess I could do the keyboard,
That would add another level of terror if you're not used to it, right?
I mean, I'm really good at keyboard anyway, but yeah. I don't know.
The other thing is, how does it compare to the later Doom games, too? Have you played the later ones?
Yeah. Doom, what was that, 2016 and Doom Eternal.
Right.
I actually really love both of those. I felt Doom Eternal was actually more of an arcade-ish kind of game itself, but it still had some aspects, not as many jump scares. Doom 3 was still its own game, with jump scares and all that, but there were Doom Eternal, there was something special to it too, and I don't know, 16 was good. It had a good story to it, but the Eternal really perfected a lot of it, like the boosting around, jumping, the movement system in the game was fantastic. Just the amount of control you had over your character, and that got up to this one point. I was just on I think harder difficulty, not normal but harder, whatever it's called, and I got up to this one point. I just couldn't beat it. I had all these good weapons and everything, but it's it gets really hard. It's shortly after you get your sword in the game, which I thought that was really cool.
That is awesome. I didn't know you got a sword in Doom Eternal. That's cool. I haven't played it yet.
There were some melee weapons in the older ones. Parts, but the new one with the sword, I don't know if that's a new thing.
Well, I remember back in the original ones, you could use your fists.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the new ones, the Eternal and the 16 have that, and that was always awesome. You have to get that power up, and it just makes you invincible, and you can punch anyone with one kill.
Nice.
Or one hit.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. I'm glad that the series is held up, even though you'd say it's not as scary as Doom 3.
Yeah, Doom 3 was definitely, there was a horror element to it, and that was back in the day. Today, if I played it, I wouldn't, I'd play it easily without the lights on, and there would be nothing.
Even with it, if you hadn't played it before, you think it wouldn't be that scary?
Well, knowing where all the jump cuts are, jump scares are, no, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably still jump, but it's still not as scary because it's old graphics, and I'm just our brains are used to these days is seeing realistic looking graphics now. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not as immersive, I guess to say.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be a little different for sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Just related to that, the Doom games, were you ever a fan of the Wolfenstein games? Because I know they were kind of the direct competitors for a while.
I never was. I never got into any of them.
Okay.
Well, maybe some of the newer ones look really good.
Oh yeah, they do. Sure.
I've never really played them, and honestly, I'm sad that I haven't played them because some of the newer ones actually look really like my type of game.
Oh yeah. Sure.
I'm sure I would like them.
Okay. Yeah. I'll point you in the right direction for those things because I've played some of the newer ones, and yeah, I'm a big fan of those as well. So I really liked what I played of the Old Blood and New Order and even Youngbloods, which a lot of people hated Youngbloods, but I thought it was great.
That's the one I was looking up. I might play that one, but yeah, that has a lot of
co-op. It's got a
okay.
We can play that online if you want to.
Yeah.
It's got online co-op mode. It's really fun.
Yeah, I got internet in the van. I can play that.
Yeah, right.
Far away from
Once you get away from here, you'll be able to play.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I said that in the other video already.
Yeah. So cool. Well, yeah, that's great. So we got 3 very unique games here so far. I'm curious, what's your 4th?
So no one's had these games yet?
No,
no,
not at all.
So my 4th, this one. Okay, I have a lot to say about this one because this is the game that I played the most out of any other game. I've replayed it. I've beaten it so many times. It's Splinter Cell Blacklist, and this one, I played this one so much that there's these Charlie missions. Charlie is one of the characters on there. You have to go to him to start the mission, and it's almost in a way like a sandbox kind of mission where you can kill anyone you want. They keep coming out at you, and with these missions you can get really good. And so I did get really good, so I can beat these. And then I looked online on YouTube at professionals playing this game, and I realized, wow, I was better than the professionals, because these people that are playing, the ones that teaching other people how to play, like that were supposed to be the best, weren't as good as me. I was like, wait, why aren't you doing this? You know, going this way instead of this at this point? Because it's like that guy's gonna do. Like I knew exactly the mechanics of how the people were gonna act at every point. But it's still fun, even though you know that in this game. Yeah. Sadly, I never actually played multiplayer on this game. I think the mechanics would have been slightly different with actual real players, but the actual campaign, single player, I can run laps around other players. Like, cool. That was the fun part about it too. Once I found out, like, wow, I'm actually better than most people at this game. Like, that's when this game became one of my favorites. But yeah, definitely, even before then, I would play the crap out of this game. I mean, I'm not doing that bad for what gear I have. They're all still over here. I have 9 people in here. I don't even know where most of them are. I'm surprised they're not all behind me.
Is that where they usually are?
Yeah.
Is that where people usually get behind you? Is that what they do?
Oh.
Yeah.
See? I told you.
Oh.
Fucking freezes all
He's
the time.
so good, he broke the game.
Yeah.
Look at that. The game could not handle how good the best Splinter Cell player in the world is.
The best Splinter Cell player. No. It's the controllers,
right?
Not me. Yeah. No, I'm not dealing with my normal gear in the game, and like it's a new game.
Right.
Yeah. So the best Splinter player, the Splinter Cell player in the world, can't do his thing. Yeah.
That was fun.
The levels, first of all, are really well designed.
Right.
Just like all the other Splinter Cell games that came before, because there were many. This is the last one that they did. This is back in 2013 they made this, I believe. They still haven't come out with a new one, which I hear there's word that the new Splinter Cell is coming soon.
Okay.
Maybe 2025 or 26.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, we definitely...
We need one.
Yeah.
Because it's a good game. There was
a series that need new games.
There's a very loyal following with this Splinter Cell series.
Well, it's the same with the James Bond games. Me and my buddy Tyler does the James Bond podcast with me. We were talking about that the other day. We haven't had a new Bond game in a really long time. And so there's certain series like this that I feel like they've kind of dropped the ball on that have very loyal followings. So yeah, I hope you get a new Blacklist game soon.
I know, right? Splinter Cell, yeah. But the old ones, I gotta say the what do you call it? Diehard gamers listening right now and being like, why do you like Blacklist and not all the first ones,
right?
Like that everyone else loved, you know? Because not a lot of people like Blacklist was not a favorite among most Splinter Cell fans. There was something about the mechanics though of this one that was just in my the way my brain works. I just loved the way the mechanics worked in this one. The older ones like Tomorrow and think that's what it's called. It's hard to even remember what it is, but those felt good still. They were really, really, really good games. There was just something about the mechanics of this newer one, you know.
Well, and it's a similar game style to Metal Gear Solid, right? Yeah.
Oh, and just what you just said, like, I love stealth in games. Not just horror games, but stealth games. That's my other favorite genre.
Because you play Hitman as well.
Yeah.
Right.
That's another. Hitman is amazing.
Yeah.
One I can probably talk about for a little bit, you know. I don't know. I keep going back to that game and then I uninstall it and I install it again and uninstall it. Because it's just like, it gets boring real quick.
Oh, really? Because you played it so much, or?
Well, not necessarily even that. It's just, I don't know. It's a really, really good game. There's like so many ways you can kill, but then it's like, once you kill them, you're like, I've done it. Like, every mission seems the same after that.
It's not quite like making a new roller coaster to kill people in a new way.
Exactly. Yeah.
That same thrill. Yeah.
Back then, when I was playing the Tycoon, like, you can only do it a certain amount of times, but I kept doing it anyway. But, I don't know.
Well, that's cool though. I mean, I love the stealth games as well. One of my friends, DLP Vince, he did pick Metal Gear Solid, but that's as close as I feel like we've come to a repeat so far.
Which one?
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
I've never played the first. I think I played a little of the second one.
Really?
Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
I have one bookmarked on my Steam.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Rising? Is that?
Yeah, Rising's another one.
Yeah.
I haven't played that one myself. Solid's actually the only one that I've personally played and beaten. But yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Is that the one with quiet or silent or what is it?
Yeah, I think it's quiet.
Quiet.
Yeah, I believe that's 5.
I played a good bit of that.
Okay.
That one's really good.
How does that compare for a stealth game versus something like Blacklist?
Splinter Cell is definitely more in tune with the covert mechanics. Metal Gear, like 5 at least, like it's just different.
It's a little more story-based, maybe less real-world mechanics.
They're both really story-based.
Okay.
I wouldn't discern them there, but they were differentiating there. But
Just mechanically, they're a little different.
Yeah. I wouldn't really. I don't know if I would compare the two in that way. I mean, it's not apples to oranges necessarily, but it's not.
Sure.
It's not exact comparison either.
Right. Well, I always kind of feel like it's unfair to compare video games anyway.
Yeah.
I have these conversations just because I like hearing about what people love, not just necessarily to compare them to anything else. So, but I wonder about that though sometimes for games that are very popular that are from the same genre, how they compare.
They're both really good games, you know. You can't really. I don't know.
Right.
And like I don't have enough experience with the first few Metal Gear Solids. So.
Right. Yeah.
But 5 was pretty cool. I like the story, and I like that it was like super, like larger than life.
Open world, right?
Yeah. Well, a large part of it was, but the superhero aspect of it, where they were larger than life villains.
Sure.
That had superpowers.
Yep.
Basically, yeah. I loved that.
And that's consistent in the series, as far as I know. At least they were certainly superpowered villains in the first Metal Gear Solid.
And that was made by Hideo Kojima.
That's right.
And that actually
bleeds
into my next favorite game because I love his work.
Yeah. So what's your final pick?
Of course, like I beat this game 3 years ago, I believe it's been. Death Stranding. Right now I have downloaded the director's cut. Never played the director's cut yet, but I played the original. The way I got into this game is different probably from most people. I watched their trailer with the BB's theme, and most of you probably don't understand what that means just saying it. Maybe you could put a little clip of it though.
Sure,
I'll show you what it is.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of like the theme music, but it was just such a beautiful trailer. The trailer itself was so beautiful that it moved me to like really want to beat this game, because I thought the entire game that song was coming up throughout, you know, and I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be so epic when that song starts playing in this video game, and it does at the end. But I don't want to give anything away at the end, except that when you beat that game, it's almost like 2 hours, literally like 2 hours worth of cutscenes.
Wow.
It's like a movie playing the entire game, but that game, I gotta say, I understand what everyone's thinking. Like, it's a walking simulator. It's boring as hell, and I don't disagree with you. The gameplay is not why that game is great. It's literally the story and everything behind Hideo Kojima. That guy is just his mind is out there, you know, and it's the lore behind that game, the story. And by the way, the reason why I'm not going to get into that is because I forgot it all. And there's a big reason why I forgot it all. I'm trying to forget that entire game because I want to play it again.
Wow.
And I want to be completely re-immersed in the game without remembering anything.
If anyone else has ever loved the game so much they tried to forget it, tell us about it in the comments. I want to hear about it. What are those games that you loved so much that you tried to forget it so you could have that experience of playing it for the first time again? That's something special.
It's chasing the dragon, man. Like, I want that. I want that again for that game, because like there were multiple moments in that game where I was just like almost in tears, you know, like it was that beautiful of a game. And okay, so when for the people who want to play it and get into it, I got to tell you, in the beginning of that game, the cutscenes for the first 2 hours you're playing that game, it's great, and then you get to the open world, like the real open world part of it, and it does get boring at parts. You have to keep going through that, whether through that boringness, because that's a lot of just grinding at that point. But once you get up to like the real story and you start going to the second part of the U.S., and then you keep going across the U.S. and you're the idea of that story is you're connecting the nations together, you're connecting people together. The story is really what drives that game to be so beautiful, and each main character in that game just adds another like moment where you're gonna be in tears.
Wow.
Just watching that story. And the people who really love that game, they get past the walking simulator part of it and they get to the part where it's just it is the story, you know.
Sure.
It is a movie. The enemies in that game, there is combat, and the combat actually feels pretty good once you get into it, but it doesn't happen at the very, very beginning. And then they got the see, I even forget the names of the invisible enemies, right? Because I've tried to forget everything.
But the enemies are invisible, so that's kind of a cool twist,
it adds
right?
terror,
so,
too, yeah. And oh, by the way, when you're playing this game, don't feel like you can't put it into its hardest difficulty, because it's completely possible. You should put it in the most tough difficulty there is. This game already is actually pretty easy, but in its tough difficulty, the parts where you have the invisible enemies, at least, that part actually gets interesting, because you have to get into this super stealthy mode to be able to play that part, and it's so it just gets really addictive and nice at that part. You keep wanting to go back to the parts with the invisible enemies when it's in its hardest difficulty, because it's just fun going around them at that part. But like I said, I forget a lot of it.
Right. No, this is very cool to hear. You're the first person that said they've actively tried to forget a game so they could play it again. That's impressive. I really want to play it now myself. I've had it in my backlog forever.
Just remember, you have to get through it.
Yeah, no, of course. And being a Kojima game, I certainly would expect that's exactly what I would want to do is play it the whole thing. I mean, Metal Gear Solid is a story-based game, right? It has really cool mechanics and combat, the way that they do it, and the stealth factor. Mm-hmm. But at its core, it's a story-based sort of adventure game, right? I mean, even when I was talking to Vince about it, we were talking about how it had RPG elements based on, you find new equipment, you get these better upgrades, things like that. Even mechanically, like there's some RPG things going on there. And really, it's like an RPG in the sense of the story of the game. You really feel like you are Solid Snake in the game, and it sounds like in Death Stranding, you probably really feel like you're Norman Reedus, right? And,
in a way. They have very cinematic cutscenes when you're in the safe zones, the safe houses.
Yeah.
I think they're even called that. When you're in the safe house, you have these very cinematic moments where you're just sitting around looking at your gear. Pretty much what these safe houses are for. You're just looking at stuff, but you can do certain interactions. Like if you turn the camera angle and stare at his crotch, he actually reacts. And you know, like there's certain things like that. If you do an action too many times, he'll have another action like that he does. You know, and the what is it, Japanese? Hijio.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He's Japanese.
Yeah, like those games, they're very much so aware of the perversion of like human nature, you know.
Right.
People are going to stare at his junk and do all that stuff. So you know, like they put it in there.
Those weird camera angles, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fun that they actually do something and call people out or whatever. Have something like that, because I've definitely seen that in games.
There's a lot of games where you try to look up the skirts of the girls, the main characters, and the girls react.
Yeah, they'll react, right?
They don't let you.
By the way, I only know that from YouTube, not from my own gameplay or anything. Like I would never, I would never
personally.
do that sort of thing. Yeah, right. So yeah,
No, I have a friend who's obsessed with JRPGs, and yeah, you should interview him.
I would love to. Your sister's husband, I'm guessing,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Yep. I'd love to interview him sometime. That'd be great. So, what a cool list, though, Ryan, as far as the variety you have there. I mean, I don't think you had 2 games of the same genre, really.
I think you're right.
You know, that's,
except for like the horror.
Well, yeah, the crossover, but that's a theme, not a genre, right?
Yeah.
So. That's pretty cool. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Death Stranding or any of the other games that I may have forgotten?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Cool. Is there now? I've got bonus round here because you know, we're doing this interview in person. Usually I interview over Discord or voice over IP, so this is a different kind of format for this episode. So I'm gonna cheat, dear listener, and I'm gonna ask my buddy here. What are your favorite games to play after you've driven to a place you've never been before, and it's the middle of the night, and it's dark and stormy, and you don't know where you are, but you've parked the van, and you're turning on your Steam Deck? What do you go to play?
I'd have to look at my library for a second. Okay, one thing, yes, yeah. Right there, at the top of the list. Alien Isolation.
Okay.
One of the scariest games ever, and everyone knows this. The AI is just perfect. You know, they did a really good job. If I want to scare myself, actually be scared, that's still scary today.
Okay, great.
I am playing the Callisto Protocol as well.
Oh yeah, that's a good game.
I love the okay. This is another one that could have been on my top 5. Dead Space.
Right.
The entire series 1 to 3 and the expansions.
Sure.
But you know, like I don't know. The Callisto Protocol is cool, but it's like Dead Space except melee Dead Space. It's not a lot of gun.
Right.
You know, shooting.
There's a lot of hand-to-hand. I played it on the PS5, which is why I think I liked it more than most people, because of the haptic triggers.
Yeah. And
it was really fun. It was the first game I played with haptic triggers, and I just thought it was really cool how that worked.
That's
the
I really need to feel that, because my buddy Aaron has that.
Oh yeah, sure.
His wife, husband, I mean.
Right.
Yeah. Some other things of note. Should I go on to?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
The Dishonored series, by the way, and then followed by Deathloop, which is right there with them. Every single one of those feels so good to play, because it's like I love that you can stop time in the middle of a combat, and then you can go back and forth kind of in time. Like you can easily reset your progress. I don't know, the Dishonored series though, with Deathloop.
All of those made by Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those were really good too. I played a lot of that. Okay, and also getting into the Dark Souls series. I mentioned a little bit already when I was showing the van, but I really do like Elden Ring a lot. Just the Souls games in general, any Souls game, I need to play way more.
Sure.
But Elden Ring, I feel like I've gotten pretty good. Yeah. Not PvP, but PvE, I'm definitely really good at.
Nice. Have you beaten the game?
No. Okay, in the first playthrough, I didn't know about this, like why I should actually have my poise stat up so high, and I always left poise really low down, and that that once the stat makes the game incredibly hard.
Okay.
So in my current playthrough, I'm full strength build, running the giant crusher, I think it is, and the big hammer, and I have like super high poise, over 100 poise right now.
Wow.
So I'm just doing the exact opposite of what I was in. And
Nice.
it's like easy mode. I'm up to the point where I'm trying to beat Melina right now, which is the hardest boss that I hear in any game, any video game out there. It's the hardest boss.
Wait. Is it harder than the second level of Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghosts and Goblins? Because that's the hardest thing I've ever experienced in video games.
I'll have to look at that.
Never made it past it to this day. So.
I'll load up the game, Elden Ring, and I'll give you the controller.
Okay.
See if you
try
can
it,
beat her.
yeah.
Because no, dude. Some player, there's these YouTube videos. Some players, they go right into there and it's like, I'm gonna beat her, And she's like in the cutscene right before you start fighting her, she's like, I've never known defeats. And like these people are like, yeah, well today you're going to. And then they die literally within 3 seconds. Of the battle. 3 seconds, like no exaggeration. 3 seconds. Yeah,
that's crazy.
The Melina is crazy.
It's pretty awesome.
I think I'm saying her name right.
No.
Yeah. There's many different characters with the M.
So all of these are good horror games to play in
the Elden Ring I wouldn't say is like necessarily for the horror part of it.
No.
But,
But it's just one you like to play.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty much going through all my like really fun, like the ones I would go to,
Cool.
There's also The Last of Us I really like. That's just for the story. I have good memories of that. Ori and the Blind Forest, another good one.
Yeah, you got a bunch of variety here for sure.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. Well, thank you, Ryan, for taking the time to talk to me today. I've really enjoyed it, and great picks again. Awesome variety. It'll be fun to see how they change over time, But you can always come back and check this out, right? To see what you said.
I almost forgot. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And check out Ryan's YouTube channel, Outdoors Embrace, where he covers way more details of his van life, builds, and travels.